When your online business gets to a certain point, you need to think a little bit about how you handle support emails and incoming emails from people. To a certain point, you can just work with your email system. And that's actually what I've been doing lately, but I kind of went back to it. And a big part of that was because of the cost of your typical support desk solutions. I've used Help Scout in the past, and at last I looked was $35 per user, so that can add up pretty high. And then I switched over to one called Helpwise for a while, and I got it with an AppSumo special. But still, even right now, if you were to go and use Helpwise, it'll cost for equivalent features, you're looking at, I think it's it's either $20 or $40 per user. The point is, hosted support desk solutions that you can use for your business can definitely be a bit of a money pit. And depending on the size of your team, if you have a virtual assistant or something like that, you can end up putting a lot of money into just handling support desk and support tickets. Well, there's a new option out there. It's called Fluent Support. It's from my friends at WP Manage Ninja. They're the same guys behind FluentCRM and Fluent Forms, both of which I'm a big fan of. And in this video, we're going to take a look at Fluent Support and see how it works. Now, before we dive in, we always need to ask that question of, do you actually need a support desk in your business? Is your business up to a point where you even need one? There is a definite simplicity to just handling things via email and then just putting some forms on your site, and those forms submit the email to your email inbox, even if it's Gmail or wherever you might do it, and then you just reply back from there. And it's super easy. The thing is that there's two big things that come to mind on when you might want to consider a support desk. The first one is obviously if you've got a team. The moment you add even one other person to the mix, and you need to be able to hand off tickets or sign tickets and that type of thing, a support desk is really, really handy, because otherwise your alternative is to, like, an email comes in, you either have to give assistants access all to the same box, and then you can't keep track of who's doing what in there, or you end up forwarding emails among each other, and that can get really messy. It can break up email threads, and it's really nasty. Number two is that when you build processes for your business, then it's really difficult to do that via email. And not only that, things can get really disorganized in there, because basically you can either tag emails or you can put them into folders, but that's essentially all you've got with a standard email platform. Whereas with a support desk, you can tag them, you can assign statuses to them, you can add internal notes to a ticket that don't actually get emailed back to the person, but it's just for internal staff purposes, or just even for yourself. You can also have canned replies, which can be a big time saver. These are things that a support desk solution does that managing things via email do not. And even though I have been managing things via email because I've simplified a lot of things with my business, I've been dealing with some of those issues of email in the fact that, I'm organizing things in folders, and sometimes emails get, I end up losing things. I don't lose them, but I've got to search. It's a little bit unwieldy. Whereas if I put them back into a support desk solution, I can bring some organization and apply some processes to it a lot easier. And I also have canned replies, which I won't have now. So if you're in those situations, you might want to look at a support desk. The thing is, as I said at the beginning, a lot of the hosted support desk solutions aren't exactly cheap. Okay, but Fluent Support comes to the rescue, and I want to take a look at it because I'm a big fan of the way this company works. I like their speed of development. They're really accessible. They actually built Fluent Support for themselves. They've been using it internally in their business for a while, and they've been improving upon it. Well, and then they decided they were going to release it as a public product, and I got to take a look. So let's do that now. Okay, so what I did is I created a staging copy of the Blog Marketing Academy itself, and I installed Fluent Support to it. And so keep in mind, as we're going through there, we don't have a lot of data in Fluent Support here because this is all being done just for testing purposes, okay? But when you come here, you got a dashboard, and you get some basic stats, how many tickets are waiting for you, and stuff like that. I do think this type of data should probably be included in some type of a dashboard widget, and as of now, that's that's not the case, where it would actually go on the WordPress dashboard over here. I think that would be a really good touch, but as of now, you got this. So, but in practice, I probably would never really use this dashboard screen. Let's go over to tickets. This is where most of the action happens, where you're going to have all your tickets that are sitting here waiting for you to be done. And if you click on one, you'll have, the ticket history. You can hit the reply button and reply back to people. If you have a canned replies, which I'll show you in a minute, you can hit templates and you can actually filter them by product if you want, or just search for them. And then you're going to have obviously a short list here of some of your, I guess, most commonly used test replies. So you could basically just throw it in there like that, and that would save some time. But that's basically how this works in terms of that. You've got the support history here. Over here on one side, you're going to have Fluent CRM, which is really cool. This is one of the great things about using multiple tools from this company, is that they work together so well. And so it's pulling in my profile because I just sent in a test email from one of my own email addresses, and it's seeing that I am subscribed, and it sees that my profile's got the member tag. You could add or remove tags from Fluent CRM right here, which is nice. I do think they need to put a little X in here so we can close this window, because right now it just doesn't seem to, whoops, didn't mean to do that. Doesn't seem to be there. I guess you got to click that little thing. So that's how that actually works. So it's really nice that it works so easily. And I did receive an email. I'm not going to show it on screen here, but I did receive an email while I was testing from one of my customers. And this was from an ongoing conversation that we were just simply doing via email. But once I set up the email piping, which is really cool, that we can bring those emails and send them in as support tickets in the system, there it is. It automatically showed her profile information there, and it was just really, really nice and how seamless everything is in here. And it reminds me a lot of Help Scout, which I actually used to be a client of. But this has everything right there. The ticket history, once again, my CRM data. This is stuff that I could not do with Help Scout without a bunch of fancy scripting and using the API and stuff like that. But in here, it's pretty simple. This is for adding internal notes, which you can add, notes to your staff or whatever, and they will not actually be sent back to the client as an email, which is very, very handy. Okay. Of course, like any support desk system, you can assign tickets to different people. You've got all these filter options. You can close a ticket and have that type of thing. You get the idea, and it's a pretty handy system, everything you would expect for a support system. Okay, now let's go over to some of the things you might actually use here. Saved replies is very, very simplistic. I created one little test canned reply, but basically you would just set them up. You would title it whatever you are, pre-type the message. You can associate it with a particular product or department. And it would be really easy to then auto-insert these canned replies as replies when you're actually replying back to your customers. So it saves a lot of time. You can set up as many canned replies as you want. Things, for example, handling common inquiries, like how do I set my password again, things like that. It could also be if people ask common questions, you can type out a much more fully formed and helpful response to them, but you don't have to actually type it differently every single time. You could just put in a canned reply. So that can be a real time saver right there. Okay, if you go under activities, you will have basically an activity log. So if you have multiple people working for you, you can kind of see what they're doing across your support desk and what they're replying to. Under here, you can, of course, create a system to actually automatically purge the activity log on certain time frames, or just turn it off altogether if you don't think the feature is very handy. Business settings, this is where you actually set up your inboxes. So right now I've only got one. Okay, I'm just setting up the support at blogmarketingacademy.com. Now, I do have other boxes. I just haven't set them up as part of this test. Okay, so if you were to go and create one, you would give it a name. Okay, like let's say that I was going to set one up for tech services. So I would be like tech services. My email address for that happens to be techservices@blogmarketingacademy.com. Okay, and I would make this an email based. Okay, the difference here is that one is going to be strictly via your website, the other one is email based, which means they can email once I set it up this, and it will actually create tickets. Now, I actually don't think they really need to have this distinction. Okay, I don't exactly know why they created that distinction, but it seems to me like you just create an inbox, and then if you want an email pipe, you just have an email pipe. Okay, but it works out really nicely the way they've got it here. Okay, let's set this up. Now, when you actually set it up as an email box, you will have this section called email pipe. Let's see what the email settings are just so I can see it. Okay, this is where you can set up the auto replies, which is going to send them back messages and stuff like that. But email piping is super, super cool because you can... We'll agree to the terms of service. You can read that if you'd like, get the piping email details, and then watch how easy this is. It basically just created this email address that I can go over to wherever I manage my email for text services, which in my case is Fastmail, and just set it up so that all those emails also get forwarded to this. Okay, that's it. And then when somebody emails techservices@blogmarketingacademy.com, it's going to show up as a ticket, and it's going to go into the tech services inbox right here inside of Fluent Support. It is so super easy. I actually did test this, and it's very easy. Now, when you first turn it on, it's not active right away. In order to activate it, in my case, I actually just simply sent an email that used it, that for support. I sent an email to support@blogmarketingacademy.com, and then once it worked, the ticket showed up like in less than a minute inside the system, and it was on. It was it. I mean, it was the most easy thing because email piping can be a pretty geeky, dorky thing to do. Okay, so they've done a really good job of making that super easy to set up, and I think it's a very cool feature that they managed to do that. And in fact, when I go back to tickets, that's how these things showed up. One of them, I think this one, I sent in as an email. And then, of course, I've got this one here from one of my customers. And that's how it got there. It was because it came in via the email pipe. And it just went into the support desk, and there it is. And the cool thing is that if you log in as her, on the front end of the website, you actually now have a support portal where those tickets show up. So it's really cool. You basically have a full web-based support ticket where she can reply back via email or via the website, which if you're using a WordPress-based membership site like I am, that is super cool, okay? Not something you could do using just email. Things can get lost that way. So that's business settings and how it works. Now, another really cool feature of this is if we go over to workflows, this is where you can set up automations that will do things based on certain rules. So this is a very common feature of Support Desk, and of course, Fluent Support already has it. So I created a couple of bogus, stupid ones just to see how this works. You can name it anything that you want, and then you got your triggers. So you can either trigger this when the ticket is originally created or when the person actually replies. And then you can set up a number of conditions. You select what you want to look at, based on which customer it is, if you'd like, the ticket title, the content, time ranges, priority, selected product. Let's just select, let's say, the ticket title. So anytime the ticket title contains something like guest post, because I get a lot of crap where they're asking for guest posts. So if they do that, they're probably spam, so I can automatically close a ticket if I wanted to. So let's say we're going to call this filter guest post crap. Okay. And anytime a ticket comes in and the title contains the title of guest post, see here how we can create and or logic. Okay. So we can have multiple rules set up here to make sure that this only picks out the type of stuff we want. All right. And then you got workflow actions. What do you want to take place? So in this case, we're just going to close a ticket and get it out of the system. Okay. Close ticket. All right. Now, you can also add other options if you wanted to, so you can have it do different things at once. So if I wanted to add an internal note that said this is a loser or something like that, but not email them back, or I could add a response back and give them an auto reply that says, hey, I don't do guest posts, go away, something to that effect. It can all be done automatically here, set it up, and then whenever that ticket comes in, we're done, okay? And then I update that workflow. So you get the idea of how this actually works, and you can set these things up a number of different ways. When you go to create a new workflow, you can make it automatic, which is the one that I just did, or you can make it manual, which means that you can set up a workflow that works kind of like a macro, where you can have it do several things all at once, but it would only be triggered when you're actually replying to their ticket, and you trigger the workflow manually that way. Okay, so it's a great way to set up automated processes to make sure that even if you have a team, that your team is executing things the way that you want them to be executed. If we go to global settings, you can see a number of the different options that you have available to you. You've got a few things like support portal. You can select whatever page you want to actually have your support portal show up on the front end. If they're not logged in, you can have your message in there. You can allow attachments on tickets if you want, or have none. If you go over to ticket tags, you can set up basically different tags. You can think of them as categories that you can categorize your incoming tickets. It's whatever works for your workflow. That's what you can set up here. Under ticket form config, this is where you can show how things are going to look on the actual form on your website that people can submit tickets to you. You can change some of the wording. You can hide or display certain things. You can have a rich text editor if you want. I just turned it off for simplicity. There's a lot of cool things that you can do there. This I have not played around with, but this is actually a really cool feature that I should make note of, and that is that they have some option for knowledge base support in here, where you can set up a custom post type on WordPress and actually have support documentation on your website, and then you select which one to map to it, and basically you're integrating a knowledge base right into your support desk right inside of WordPress. That's a super cool feature. Custom fields, this is if you want to take more than just ticket title and the basic contents. If you have some particular custom data that you want to go along with that ticket, you can do that. It's just like Fluent CRM in a lot of ways. You got multiple options here for things that you can add as field types. Let's say here, we can name it however and set up a bunch of things. Conditional logic is a cool feature because basically you can have these fields only show up under certain conditions, so they don't have to show up all the time. Maybe you have one product that has certain fields that might be associated with it, but in other ones it's not there. Well, you can totally set all that stuff up, so you have a lot of control with these custom fields here, and you can really customize things. Products is basically, if you have multiple products, you can basically have them choose which product they're asking for help on. I think of this more as departments personally, and I think they should have an option, or maybe rephrase this to make it a little bit more clear, because you might want to just have it be different departments, okay? But however, whatever works for you, that's what you can use it for. If you have multiple staff, that's where you can put it under support staff. Obviously, I'm the admin here, so there's me, but if you had a virtual assistant, you could add a profile for them, control their permissions and things like that. Fluent CRM integration. Now, built in, there's already some basic Fluent CRM integration, and the fact that their Fluent CRM tags are going to automatically show up in the interface if they happen to have a profile over there. But if you check off this box, it also allows you to, anytime somebody submits a ticket, you can also add them to your list automatically, or you can add certain tags to their profile and things like that, okay? Notification integrations, this is where you can actually integrate with things outside systems like Telegram, Slack, or Discord, if that type of feature is handy. I have not tested this. I personally don't have any need to integrate with these things, but if you do, let's say that you and your team use Slack, okay, like it's pretty common to use Slack. Well, you can make Fluent Support send notifications of new tickets over into Slack so that your team sees it and you guys know to go and handle the ticket. So there's a lot there. Now, if you are running a team, the reports option gives you a lot of data in terms of average waiting time, things like that. You can also track the performance of your individual team members to see how fast they are on the draw. And then, of course, under customers, this is basically going to be the profile for your customers. here's the thing, it's specific to Fluent Support. This is very different than anything that you're going to get inside of WooCommerce or inside of Fluent CRM, because they've got it set up in such a way where anytime a ticket comes in, they kind of want to have a support profile for just that person, okay? So it is different than what you might otherwise expect it to. And you can see I've got a few in there that are being auto-created, but they are different than what's in Fluent CRM. So that it's a little bit of a weird thing there. I can see the flexibility there, but one thing I was going to recommend to them might be a way to where we can make Fluent CRM kind of the lead system there, so that we don't have Fluent Support kind of creating a whole nother profile to keep track of. So that's Fluent Support in a nutshell. As you can see, it is a pretty robust product already. It kind of already does everything almost everything that you see in some of the big hosted, paid, expensive support desk solutions that you have to do as a third-party thing. And it's being that it's not integrated in with your stack, those third-party things are a pain in the butt, because if you want to get any of your data over there for ease purposes, you got to deal with all this API stuff, and it's just complicated. So Fluent Support is already pretty robust. Now, like all things, this is the first release that they've put out publicly, and there's always a few little things that you think, oh, that'd be cool if they did that. So I just wanted to cover a few of these. The first one is, as I mentioned, I do think that they should have a dashboard widget that goes on the main admin panel dashboard for just quicker access to the system. The dashboard that comes in Fluent Support right now, I really don't find that very useful. I don't even know why anybody would ever go there. I do think having something like that on the main WordPress dashboard would be way more handy. Also, I think they should put something, maybe the option for it, to put something into the admin toolbar so that you can see a number of tickets that are waiting for you to reply to sitting right there and give you one-click access to the support desk. One of the things I really like about Fluent CRM is how they put that little thing with the drop down. You can search for contacts and quickly jump to their profile. I think it's super convenient. I think they should do something similar for Fluent Support. I also think they need to put a little bit more capability into the system to deal with spam, because here's the thing. They've got the email piping, and it works really, really well. That being said, whenever you have an email-based support box, you're probably going to get some emails that really don't need a support ticket, okay? Now, being that you're using email forwarders, you could set up some filters over in your email system to maybe kind of do some filtering action before it gets sent into Fluent Support. And so that is an option. However, you could also set up some things with the workflows inside of Fluent Support in order to do this. But what you want to do is, instead of just closing out a ticket, I think they should build something into the workflows that allows you to just not even have the ticket created in the first place. Just hose it. And also, don't create a customer profile for them in the system. Because in certain types of emails that come in to support, you just don't even want to clutter up your database with it. And I think there should be some kind of a workflow option there to just not even insert it, even if the email does come into the email pipe. I think they should tighten up the integration with Fluent CRM, because to me, this is one of the real strong suits of the product. Now, the Fluent CRM integration is already there. However, I went and looked at the automations inside of Fluent CRM, and they don't currently have any triggers or actions available in Fluent CRM automations specifically for Fluent Support. So I think that's something they should probably add. I also think that the option to actually use Fluent CRM as the main customer database should be easier to do instead of Fluent CRM creating its own. I think using Fluent CRM makes a little bit more sense personally for that. I understand why they did it the way that they did it, because maybe not every Fluent CRM maybe not every Fluent Support user, if I can get that out right, is using Fluent CRM, and I do understand that. But in the case where you are using both, I think being able to not have a whole nother customer list showing up inside of Fluent Support would be nice, and just use Fluent CRM. The other thing is that maybe making it so that the access to the Fluent CRM profile from the ticket screen is a little bit more seamless. Right now, you kind of have to click on that little purple button and it opens it up in a whole nother tab. It would be nice if they had it show up in a pop-up or something a little bit more just seamless to access the data inside of Fluent CRM. Because also you have to go over to Fluent CRM to be able to access things like their order history from WooCommerce or, those types of things. It's not really sitting in the ticket interface right now. And so I think it could be a little simpler. I think a few little things in terms of controlling the interface and making Fluent CRM, I keep saying Fluent CRM, making Fluent Support more adaptable to different types of businesses would be nice. And one thing that I thought of would be, what if it is a solopreneur? Meaning that you're the only one running the business and you actually don't have a team of people. In that case, having all the stuff in the interface for multiple agents and assigned tickets and unassigned tickets and things like that are sort of irrelevant. And so it might be nice, just something that they could consider of like having a master switch in the options for Fluent Support, where if you're a solopreneur, it kind of gets rid of the things with the multiple agents and just has the tickets come in, and you can still assign them to different products and tags and stuff like that, but maybe just not have a drop down for multiple people because you're the only one and it wouldn't really be relevant. It also would be nice if they had the option to control the portal a little bit better, maybe even have multiple support portals, because there might be times where you want to have a certain box, a certain inbox that is treated differently than all the rest and doesn't get mixed in with the same support portal. So I could see maybe having a little bit of flexibility with that short code so you could set up different portals for different purposes would be nice. Overall, I think Fluent Support is solid. They've done a really, really good job with it. I think if you're running a WordPress-based membership, this is a super handy tool, because think about how cool it is that when people log into their member account that they've got their full ticket history right there associated with their account. It's so much cleaner than dealing with things via email where they've got no record of those emails, okay, unless they're storing it on their email program, but things are disjointed. Whereas with Fluent Support, they just log in the same member profile that's going to get them access to your courses and your products and their WooCommerce orders and whatever else you might have going on. They can also access their full ticket history and interact with you. And that's a really nice feature. And Fluent Support has all that. It's beautifully integrated in with with WordPress, which is handy. If you're using Fluent CRM, the no-brainer factor just goes up because that integration is really, really tight. The other thing we can't lose sight of is just the obvious money savings that comes into this, because if you're using a hosted SaaS product out there for your support desk right now, you probably know that the cost of that can really add up. I liked Help Scout a lot. The main reason I got out of Help Scout was honestly to save the money. I thought that I was overpaying for the amount of value that I was getting because I didn't have a large team. It ain't like I was dealing with 10 people. The other thing is, if I was dealing with 10 people, man, Help Scout would get super expensive fast. It's $35 per seat. So at the time I had me and a VA, and that would have been $70 per month. For a little while there, my wife was coming in and she was helping handle some support stuff. So if there were 3 of us in there, we're now getting over $100 a month to run Help Scout. Also, Help Scout does not directly integrate in with WordPress unless you use another plugin. And there's a really solid plugin, and I actually purchased it, that integrates Help Scout into WordPress, and you've got the nice little portal there, but that's an additional purchase, okay? And so if you're using these hosted platforms, there can be more complexity involved, and certainly your costs are a lot higher. Whereas if you use something like Fluent Support, you've pretty much got it all there. It gets rid of a lot of your integration problems because it's all built right into WordPress. And it just makes life simpler. You're no longer going to be charged by how many seats, how many agents you've got, so you can expand that team out. You're not going to be limited on how many different inboxes you have. It's an unlimited platform, and you could do it all right there. You could even run multiple businesses all through one installation of WordPress and just basically create your own hosted support desk solution. And it's solid. It works. So that's Fluent Support, and they've done a great job with it. I look forward to watching it mature even further, but it's pretty mature right out the gate, and that's because they built it for themselves. They've actually been using it for a while. Just because it's just coming on the market now doesn't mean that it's half-baked. It's definitely not. You could tell that they've been working on this thing for a little while, and it does what it's supposed to do. So it's a bit of a no-brainer for WordPress users, and if you have any questions, definitely let me know.